Today, once again, we have a Sutta study at the Singapore Buddhist Mission, and today the date is 17th May 2015. This is our last study before Wesak, which is on 1st of June, right? Right. So this year, Singapore celebrating Wesak in June, which follows the lunar calendar. Actually, it's the correct date. The Malaysia celebrated 1 month earlier because they followed the WFB, World Fellowship of Buddhist resolution to celebrate Wesak on the full moon day of May, every full moon day. So it's just a matter of which calendar they follow. So the more Wesak, the better.
Some people will be wondering how come Wesak different.
Actually, the Mahayana tradition also follow different dates. In the Japanese also, they have 3 different days. So it depends on what kind of calendar you have. Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, you can explain that lunar calendar, and the other one is what's called WFB resolution. They want to universalize all the dates, so they say full moon day of May.
If you repeat lunar calendar, how?
Then I forget the one. Either they choose the first one or second one. I can't remember now. So
You will take the first one, right? They will take the second one.
I don't know. Probably. But anyway, that's why they fix full moon day of May. Yeah, but Singapore somehow we follow, or should I say, the main organization in Singapore decide. So, but basically, you can celebrate Wesak any day you choose appropriate. If the people come, that's fine, This is a very beautiful teaching here, where the Buddha says, this man came to him and told him, so this river the water is very holy, why don't you go inside and wash and then come out, you wash away all your bad deeds, all your sins wash away. Then the Buddha answered something like, does it really work that way? Then the fishes and all those turtles will be pure, they go to heaven, And then he says something even more beautiful. He says, if you are pure at heart, wherever there's water, whether there's a well, that is a holy place. That is Gaya, the place of enlightenment. If you are pure at heart, every day is a precept day. Not the 15 and the first only, you see. So if you keep the precepts, every day is a holy day. So this kind of teaching is very important. It shows the difference between simply following teachings without practicing. So practicing is very important. So this leads us into our topic today. First of all, when we talk about Buddhism, what do we think of? Buddhism is said to be a path, magga, a path. Okay, a path means you have to walk it, you have to travel on it, right? Eightfold path. It's like as if this highway has got 8 lanes, and they all run at the same time. So we have to walk that path. Sometimes we go here, sometimes we go there, but it all goes in the direction of nirvana. We can stop a while, but not too long. Okay, so you got to travel on. Okay, and occasionally there are other roads. The side road, and they have advertisement there. Come for this, come for that, all kinds of perks, as we say. When you get distracted, right? So you should go straight. In a Sankta Nikaya, the Buddha says this path is called straight. You go straight like a highway. And then when you do your reflection in the Sangha Nusati's Uju Patipano, remember that word, Uju Patipano? Uju, straight. Patipano, practice. That means these monks or the true practitioners, their mind is straight. Here, straight means when you meditate, you go straight to the object, you get concentration. Straight, for example, means you come to Sunday, you come straight to temple. You're not going to go elsewhere. So this meaning of straight refers to Buddhist training, right? And in Buddhist training, we talk of the 3 trainings, Tisika. Okay, and here you are. This is like a pyramid: Sila, Samadhi, Panya. All these are familiar words to us. So one question we must always ask ourselves: if you are, a long time a Buddhist, and if you have been coming to temple for a long time, we know all these words. We've been hearing all these things again and again. how come we are still not enlightened, right? The reason is because we forget. We forget many of these teachings. We know it on the word level, okay? Word level in Pali is called pada parama. Pada parama means we only know the word level, that's all. You know, that's why some people, they're very good, they memorize chunks and chunks of teachings, you know, and they can give really long, complicated talks. But then after the talk, you talk to them, you find they're not friendly, they can't communicate. And in other words, they're not happy, you know. So once it's like that, then you wonder, have they experienced Buddhism or not? So when we talk about a path, you must make the journey. It's just like I've never been to, let's say, Kuala Lumpur or Bangkok or London. I give long talks about it, you know. I can talk as much as I like about it. I've never been there. So it's very important for us to have some level of experience. If not of one level, maybe not much wisdom, but try mental cultivation, calm the mind. If not, at least keeping the precepts like that. Yeah. In fact, the practice is not difficult. We should not make it difficult for ourselves. If you can calm your mind, when you're bowing down, you are bowing down, you're reflecting. You do that regularly, habitually. You are keeping your mind peaceful. Then you can feel the peace. Whenever you come to a place like this, always be mindful. There are certain people who are by nature calm. When I say by nature, that means they have, you know, habitually been like that. Not because they're born like that, but for some reason they have really been inspired by Buddhism and are like that. And these are the kind of people who are your jewels, you know, your very special people inspire you. Then there are others who are the opposite. So we have different kinds. And you got to have space for them. But you got to cultivate these people who are really of good example, because they will make you happy when you have difficulties. They will give you hope when you're faced with problems. And they will show to you that Buddhism does work. It'll be very sad to see people who come to a temple in their whole life and then suddenly they pass away and you can't remember anything peaceful about them. Right? They come here, all they do is go to the kitchen, talk about Genting Highlands, now got Genting Hotel, and gambling, and so on. Then you find in the end, life is so short, you know. That's all. That short moment in our world cycle is like a dot, and that's all the person did. It's rather sad, isn't it? So, in other words, when you're born as human beings, the Buddha say it's not easy, you know. There's a verse in the Dhammapada, Kicho manusa patilabho, if I'm not mistaken, that's how it's said. You can translate this as, it is difficult to attain the human state. So some people translate this as difficult to be born as a human being. I don't think so, that's very correct, because from other suttas you find it's not difficult actually to be born as a human being. But we are born with a human body but not a human mind. Human mind takes time to cultivate. Some people, most of their life, they are still violent. That means they're not human yet. They don't respect other human beings. So we may be born human, but our mind needs to be humanized. That's what parents do to us when they raise us, love us, hug us. So they humanize us. The first 7 years, very important for a child. You know, in my counseling sessions, people come. We have people late 20s, late 30s. Their mental age is that of a 7-year-old, emotional age, 7-year-old boy, 13-year-old boy. Can you imagine that? Now the good thing is they realize it and they accept it, you know, then it's easier to help them. So in other words, we can have a body of a elderly person, but the mind is still a child. And you'll be surprised, this is more true than we imagine, you know. Especially when people quarrel, you see how they behave, you know, and they start fighting and scolding all this. And you find they reach the level of childishness, as we say. And the word for childishness in Pali is bala. Bala means a boy, a child. And it also means a fool. I remember the first line, blessing in the Mangala Sutta. Panditanyancha sevana and asevanacha balanam. Very first line. Asevana means don't associate. You see asevana? The word sevi here, same. See asevitaba, right? And asevana is the noun. Asewana means don't associate balanang, foolish people. Okay, so if you are new to Buddhism, yeah, it's not easy to associate with foolish people because they take away our energy, and when we teach them, it's very difficult. They don't listen. But if you are a teacher or you have some Dhamma strength, you must be patient. These are the people who need your help. That is why, in my Dhamma talks, especially big groups, I find all kinds of people there, and you have to be very patient. That is why compassion is the very important quality. Compassion means even when people don't deserve it, you still try to help them. You try your best. Yeah? So, coming back to the path again. So, first we got to train ourselves in moral virtue, right? We have heard a lot of precepts. But in essence, what do the precepts tell us? To learn to say no. Okay, like today our approach is slightly different. We will try to look overview. Say no to 5 things. No to killing, no to stealing, no to committing sexual misconduct, no to lying, and no to getting drugged and drunk. But there are other things which are negative. We say no. So it's very easy to be a Buddhist. Learn to say no. Okay. So this saying no is the same as asevetaba. We should not do. Okay. There are this. Now we come to this Sevetaba Sutta. You see the title is very long, right? You break up that compound into 2 words. So the last 2, this word join up. The ending here join with this, so it becomes a long vowel. Sevetaba Sutta. The discourse on that which should be done or should be resorted to, and that which should not be resorted to. Here again, this sutta is very simple, but it's kind of all the 10 precepts are repeated. What should be done, what should not be done. But there are some extra things which I'll point out to you. Okay, those things you are familiar with, I'm going to shorten them, summarize them. Right. So the first training, we must learn to say no. Right. For example, Sunday once a week you come here. Vesak Day once a year you come for celebration to remember the Buddha. And your friends come along and say, why don't you go for a holiday, do that, do this, do that, and you say no, sorry. That's my first training as a Buddhist. Learn to say no. Okay. In other words, priority. Another way of taking this meaning is a sense of priority. Very important in Buddhism. Priority. Because if you get your priority wrong, then this whole thing is upside down. Right? This is also priority, if you like. Right? Which comes first? Now, Buddhist training begins saying no because it is easier to say no to bad things. And also very important to say no to bad things first. Because once the bad things are cleared, then the good things can come in, so to speak, right? So that's when we come to the second level. Say yes. Say yes to what? Okay, you got the 5 precepts. Not to kill. The positive quality is compassion, right? Say yes to compassion. Then not to steal. Positive quality is generosity, right? Say yes to generosity. The third one against sexual misconduct, the positive quality is contentment. Contentment, right? Say yes to contentment. And the fourth one is truth, right? Say yes to truth. Okay? Truth includes Dhamma, teaching Dhamma, learning Dhamma. And the last one is not to get drugged and drunk. Positive quality is a clear mind. And this last precept connects the wisdom also. But these are the 5 things we say yes. Pancha Sila, Pancha Dhamma. 5 precepts, 5 virtue. Okay? They go like that. So we don't kill, but we also practice the positive quality. So saying yes is also part of mental cultivation, right? Something we should do. And that is Sevitaba. Right? So again here, very important to notice, this moral virtue is not just one stage. Actually moral virtue pervades the whole pyramid. In other words, when you reach the level of mental cultivation, moral virtue is still there. Alright? So if a Srimuna, Arhat so enlightened, he still has moral virtue. In fact, in the case of the Arhat, the moral virtue is more natural. His moral virtue is spontaneous. He doesn't have to think about it. He knows killing is wrong. He will automatically, spontaneously, he will not kill. So we have to be very careful. Sometimes people say, oh, my teacher is perfect, awakened, so he doesn't have to keep the precepts. Oh, that's a very dangerous way of talking. There's no such thing. There's no one is precept, what do you call that? Free from precepts, you know, right? So that's wrong. Yeah? I say this because, you know, there was a time in the US, even in Europe, a lot of scandals and problems in the 90s because of this kind of idea. Buddhism becomes so philosophical until whatever you do is all right, it's all in the mind, you know, the kind of idea. Then we have a big problem when we talk like that. Okay? So the precepts pervade all three levels, even the wisdom level. Okay? Having kept the precepts well, why is it so important to keep the precepts well? Because the precepts deal with our body and speech. When our body and speech are calm, it's easier to meditate. Because if we don't keep the precepts well, when you meditate, all these thoughts come back. You notice what happens when you meditate. The first thing you see is what is in your mind. And you know, now we have so many people coming for our meditation classes ever since the video of KY came online. A lot of people started coming, and the other reason also our location is central. And very often these people will say, feedback time, they'll say, oh, you know, I see a lot of thoughts in my mind about my work and so on. I say, oh good, you already begun your meditation. Because once you start meditating, what you see is what you get in your own mind. That means you have started meditating already. Okay? Don't feel bad just because you say, wow, my mind so many thoughts. That's the first thing you see. The next thing is, send your loving kindness to all those thoughts, right? If you fight the thoughts, then you can't focus. You send loving kindness to your thoughts, and then you let them go. So your body and your speech becomes more peaceful. It's easier to meditate, in other words. Because if your body and speech are not keeping in the precepts, then all these thoughts come back. You know, wow, I've done this, I've done that, I've done all these terrible things, and you feel so guilty. That's one of the hindrances. You feel guilty. Okay? So, first level, we discipline, we calm our body and speech. Then we calm our body and mind, right? Or our mind rather. Okay, so body, mind. Okay? Then we clear the mind step by step, bit by bit. There are many methods for clearing the mind. In fact, you find today there are so many kinds of meditation methods. But I can tell you that the method that the Buddha taught is still the real thing. 2,500 years old, just not gone out of fashion. People like to steal from the Buddha. I don't know how else to put it. They take all these methods and they give it a new name, and they Googleize it, as we say. They give it Google meditation, all kinds of modern meditation. I'm not against all this meditation, but we have to see them for what they really are. We have even psychologists coming for our meditation classes, and they know very well this is the real thing, and they're going to practice it. They may use it for their own teachings, that's fine. But the thing is, they know that that is a psychological method, psychotherapy. What about Google meditation? It's so popular, not because of the meditation, it's because of Google. So the question is, why do people get excited about all this Google meditation? Not because of meditation, because of Google. Something is wrong there, okay? So that is where it is wrong. But if these people practice, they say, oh, this is good, you know, wow, I want to go deeper, right? Then it is a Dhamma door, a very big Dhamma door, okay? They go through the Dhamma door and then they go on, practice a real thing. That's fine. But if we only stop there, and there's a lot of money to be, it's about money, and Google is trying to be everywhere, you know. So in the end, Google controls everything, your whole life, which is not good. So this is where it's a business thing. It's not really about meditation. It's more about making your business more successful. Whereas in Buddhist meditation, traditional Buddhist meditation, is about awakening, freeing yourself from greed. Now in Singapore, we get very excited. You know, the teacher in my son's school say, "Oh, you know, there's this guy, Mr. So-and-so, he's with Google, you know." There's no big deal there, because in America, one of the scholars, professors, I think, he wrote a letter to the New York Times. He said, "What's going on here? What is Google? This person from Google running this wisdom, so-called wisdom program and teaching meditation, that's not what the Buddha intended. You know, I mean, he's making it so business-like. You know, so these intelligent people, they notice all this, they know what's wrong, what's right. Okay, so as Buddhists, we should not be carried away just because we see, wow, this bigness. You know, sometimes we see, you know, we're sat there in front of the newspaper, you see, oh, big crowd. You know, maybe nowadays you don't see those that Soka group doing the National Day. I don't know, do they still do those big pyramid National Day? The Soka group, you know, they always form those human pyramids, so they're very good at that, you know, and they get good publicity. So people think, wow, look at this Buddhist group, they can form big human pyramids. It's very difficult to make a human pyramid, you know, one person get tickled out, the whole thing collapses, and you get hurt. It needs discipline, Japanese discipline, and they form that pyramid. In other words, these people who join this group, they become Japanese, you know. And because of their big numbers, it doesn't mean they are successful. It doesn't mean they will lead us to awakening. It just means they are successful and they are good in building pyramids. That's all. So we should not get carried away because of bigness. There's another group in Thailand, for example. They get hundreds of people, all sitting in nice rows, you know, wearing yellow, shaven head with a cloth. Cloth is an umbrella with a mosquito net, you know. All sitting very disciplined, and people take photo of that, and you see, it's a very inspiring picture. But that's all it is. It doesn't mean that they're doing the right thing, okay? Because when you look at the Buddha, he's sitting alone there. You can do it at home alone also. You don't have to be part of that big crowd. You can meditate anywhere. So bigness and truth, awakening are different things. One more point about wisdom. Let's say here I am teaching you, and then suddenly I rise into the sky, into the air, float up there. Or even more dramatic, I float already up there, then fire and water start coming out, bright lights start coming out of my body. And then you say, wow, after this you say everything I teach must be true. There's no connection between what I did and what I'm saying. No connection. But a lot of people believe there's a connection. You know what I mean? They talk about miracles. They say, oh, you know, this person can perform miracles. Therefore, what he says is true. We don't know what those miracles are. We don't know what's happening. Even during Roman times, you know, I think it was Cicero, I think he said, whatever happens, happens because it can happen. Therefore, there are no miracles. Simple logic, no? Whatever happens, in other words, can happen. That means they follow nature's laws. So we just don't understand what's going on. Maybe it's a trick. Even if this teacher, even if I can float up into the sky and do all this colorful magic, maybe it's Mara, you know. Maybe it is some of those magicians you see could do that too, you see. So this is where in Buddhism, in the Kevada Sutta, for example, the Buddha said, don't go for all these miracles. The greatest miracle is that of education. Anusasana. In other words, changing yourself according to the Dharma. So we come to wisdom again. Okay? So this is the 3 trainings. So here, this is a long sutta, but I'm going to summarize for you because there's a lot of repetition. You see, if we look at the first page, there are 3 cycles. The first cycle talks about the types of conduct, the thoughts, and so on. So, second cycle about the 12 basis, 12 senses. Third cycle is about the basic supports that the monks have. This is a basic summary. Here, Buddha is giving a teaching, and then Sariputta says, oh, I know this teaching, and then Sariputta elaborates. And after the Buddha said, very good, and then the Buddha repeats it. This is to teach the monks and lay people this basic practice of the Buddhist training. Okay, and many of these things you're familiar with, so now we've got to kind of remember them so that our lives are richer in terms of the Dharma. So I'll just introduce you some new parts. Let's start first, page 143, right? Thus have I heard at one time the Blessed One was staying in Anathapindika's park in Jeta's Grove near Savatthi. this famous place, Savatthi. Then the Blessed One addressed the monks, Bhikshus, Bhante. The monks replied to the Blessed One in essence. Then the Blessed One said this, Bhikshus, I will give you a Dharma exposition on what should be resorted to and what should not be resorted to. Okay, so here the Buddha is giving a syllabus. This is what I'm going to teach you. Notice next time Buddha says, listen well, pay close attention, I will speak. Right, so get ready. So, in fact, the monks are always ready there. The monks are sitting there listening. Now, almost every time in the sutta, you notice, sutta will say monks, the Buddha addressed the bhikshus. Some people they read a bit of the suttas and they say, wow, this sutta, the Buddha only talked to the monks, and then they happen to be asked to give a talk, then they say, oh, this sutta is all meant for monks only. Lay people should not practice it. Now that's wrong view. Okay, what do you call this? It's incomplete knowledge. No? So the word monk or bhikshu here is called a synecdoche. Synecdoche means short form. No? For example, let's say Singapore, you use the Merlion. Merlion represents the whole country like that. Okay, so so when the Buddha says monks, he's addressing those who are sitting right in front, maybe biggest crowd, and those monks are always there listening to the Buddha. But remember, in that same audience, you have nuns, laymen, laywomen, non-Buddhists. They are there listening. So even though the Buddha said monks, the other people are also listening. So the word monk simply means anyone who is present. The Buddha Gosha says monk also can mean meditator. So when you are meditating at that time, you are spiritually a monk. Even though your hair is not shaven, you're not wearing the robes of a monk, you're dressed like a layperson. When you're meditating, your mind is the same as that of the monk, as long as you keep to your practice, in other words. So we're talking about inner renunciation. Okay? So there you see, in other words, Buddhism is very flexible. It's not something ritualistic. It's not something so formal. It is not what you show outside. It is what is happening, changing inside you. Nowadays, sometimes I get myself into all kinds of groups they invite me to join, and some of these things can be very difficult. But some of these people, they know that I know early Buddhism, and I also tend to speak up quite directly if something is wrong, and they value that, and I'm happy to help them if they value that truthfulness. So I'm with the Mahayana group now, and it is quite a scary situation to be with this Mahayana group, because I call these teachers theologians, because their ideas are so fixed in their dogmas about Buddhism. The idea is everyone must become Buddhas. This is the current trend by these Mahayana theologians. Then somebody asked me, do you agree with this idea? I said, no, I don't agree with this idea the way this person presents it. But I definitely agree that we can be Buddhas. But my understanding is from early Buddhism, from the suttas. That's all I said, because I don't want to go beyond that, then there will be too many differences. Because nowadays, some teachers may tell you, everybody can be Buddhas, you all can be Buddhas. That's the good news. I don't know what that means. If you become Buddha, what does it mean? You're going to sacrifice your family, your children, your house, your limbs, your life? Not everybody is ready to do that. You might frighten people away. But that's not the real problem. The real problem is if you talk about, oh, I'm taking a vow to be Buddha, but yet you don't talk to other people. You're not friendly even with other teachers, people whose ideas are different from you. Then people begin to wonder, you're talking about Buddha, but you don't act compassionate. Something is wrong. We call this incongruency, dissonance, So this is where, if we don't question, then you have problems. But nowadays people are very clever. They say, oh, let's not talk about early Buddhism or late Buddhism. Let's just accept Buddhism as Buddhism, So that's one way of telling yourself, just accept what I say. So these are logic tricks which can be used by speakers, right? So we have to choose very wisely. Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupt.
Sure.
I think the current trend of thinking through education or whatever it is, I think everybody are talking about brand consciousness, brand. So they put a Buddha brand there, so it must be right.
Yeah.
And no one regulate the brand, that's the problem.
True.
So everyone becomes deceived by the brand. And everyone go for the brand now.
Yeah. So this is the thing about Buddhism, you see. We have a lot of freedom. We must value the freedom. Freedom means you must speak up. This is wrong. More people must speak up. I like to see things in a good, happy way, like that we all are changing. We are becoming more, we are understanding this freedom better. Previous generation, even more old-fashioned. You know, I came from Malacca, the temple there, Vesak Day, first thing they said, we must worship God, capital G-O-D, bow to heaven. I mean, we didn't know that, we just follow what the uncles do. Then the monks say, what are you doing? Are you all Christians or Buddhists? Because the traditional Chinese Buddhists were, traditional Buddhists, so they thought we must worship God first. So in other words, they never learned the Dharma, you see. Then the next generation understand better. Say, oh no, we don't do this. These are the things we do. We practice precepts and so on. So basically, know your suttas well, mix with people who are serious about the Dharma, who are calm, happy, friendly, right? And this line, you must remember this wonderful line. The Buddha says in the Dhammacettiya Sutta, in fact it's the King Pasenadi who says this also. He says he's so happy to see the monks. Because in other religions, the monks, the people there look so unhappy and angry and unfriendly. But here he says, you look at the monks, they look at each other in the eye. They look at each other in the eye. They mix like milk and water. So when you come to this place, you must mix like milk and water, looking at each other in the eye. You know, so that means there is fellowship and acceptance. Of course, this may not happen overnight. Some people come here, they're shy, it's okay. But you slowly find that as they become more used to the place, they become happy, they look at you and they talk in the eye. Okay? So all this are mentioned in the suttas. So this is where one simple rule to know whether this teacher is good or not. Number one, see this teacher happy or not? Does he smile or not? If you go up to him and talk, is he friendly or not? If there are those qualities, and then you listen to the Dhamma, oh, very clear, very good, very helpful, like that. Okay. Of course, on the other hand, you have a lot of teachers who just smile and that's all, and they talk the wrong things. So you must be very mindful also. Okay. Okay. So let's look at the first teaching the Buddha gives. Page 143, section 3. The Blessed One said this: Bhikshus, bodily conduct is of two kinds, I say, to be resorted to and not to be resorted to. Okay? And then look at the heading. Next one, verbal conduct of two kinds, to be resorted to, not to be resorted to. And the next heading, mental conduct, right? Body, speech, and mind. Notice the three? Then, arising of thought is of two kinds. One to be resorted to, that means you should follow. The other one, do not follow. Number 5, gain in perception is of two kinds, and only two kinds. In other words, one good, one bad. One we follow, one we don't follow. And then number 6, gain in views, also same thing, right? Of two kinds. One to be followed, one not to be followed. And then number 7, the gain in personhood. I'll explain this a little later. Gain in personhood also of two kinds. One to be followed, one not to be followed. So this is the principle. Right? So the basic idea here the Buddha is reminding us is that be very wise in choosing, even Buddhism. Choose your teachings wisely. Say no to the wrong teachings. So body, speech, and mind, you already know them. Body are the first 3 precepts, right? And the details are given below. I won't go into them because you already know them. Not to kill, not to steal, not to commit adultery. Those are things not to be resorted to. Asevitapa. Then mental conduct. What are those things not to be done? Then you can see, if you want to look at the words, They are on page 148. Can you see 7.7? 7.4. 7.4 is covetousness. 7. Then followed by ill will. Okay, so desiring for things which you see other people have, you let go of that. That's not good. Ill will, harboring hatred in the mind, that's not good. Let them go. Okay, that is mental conduct which is not worthwhile following. Now then, arising of thought. This is something new. Okay, now the Buddha goes on the just between mental cultivation and wisdom. This is where sometimes, you know, we can feel some negative emotion, some thoughts coming to us. Angry thoughts, sad thoughts. Okay? So, ask yourself, do I follow this thought or do I not follow this thought? Okay? So, if it is negative, you say, no, I'm not going to follow it. Straight away, you say, that's when it's easier to let go of the negative thought. If you wait and you allow this thought to take over, then it won't be easy for you to overcome it. Okay? So, deal with the thought as soon as it arises. That's the meaning. Arising of thought. Notice that. Nip it in the bud. That's the meaning. Okay? This is a very important training. This is a training in meditation already. Watch your thoughts. The moment you see angry thoughts arise about somebody, immediately switch to, may you be well and happy. Say that sincerely, and you find the thoughts are gone. After that, you say, what did I think? You don't remember the thoughts anymore. Then your mind is pure. That's how you purify your mind. Sometimes you might feel, no, this guy is bad. I must really hate him. We don't want to say that because our minds get hurt. Our minds get polluted. Okay? So even if the person is really bad, that person will suffer his own karma. And we don't have to make it a burden to us. We free our minds of that burden. And that's, if you can do that, in a sense, you are punishing that person even worse because you are not affected by the negativity of that person. Okay? Next one, gain in perception. Now, this time is how we understand things, how we recognize things, how we, when we see something and then thoughts arise in us. Perception, memories. So, when you look at someone and then you recall something good, something bad, again, ask yourself, is this worth following? Is this not worth following? Shall I? So this is like, what do you call that? Flow chart, you know? Follow, don't follow, right? You must decide, see? So here's very interesting. Notice the tone of the teaching here. The Buddha didn't say, my command is, do this. No, the Buddha said, train yourself. You must know what to follow, what not to follow. So in other words, the Buddha is giving you the responsibility. You have that freedom to choose. Okay, now we come to gain in views, right? We form ideas. You know, I don't know how many years have I been a Buddhist already? 45 years? I'm 66, so I started Buddhism around 15, let's say, so 51 years. Wow, okay, 50 years, nah? Oh, that's the same time as our friend Tom, and also that's the time he was, you know, dealing with religion. I found that at first, you know, can you remember the time when you really wanted to know Buddhism? Every little bit of information is interesting. When you try to remember it, you know, right? 5 precepts, 8 of this, 5 of that, 4 of this. Try to remember everything, right? But I can tell you, as you mature as a Buddhist, you find that even if you can't remember all those doctrines in detail, it doesn't matter. Or if you know all those doctrines very well, after that you ask yourself, okay, where do we go from here? Right? In other words, after 12 years of translating suttas, I find that you have to build up on that, you see? You have to build up on that. Now we talk about a path just now, right? Buddhism is a path. Now we can also look at Buddhism as a ladder. A ladder, no? A ladder, you step on one rung, and then the other foot goes up. And then you transfer your energy to the effort to the other foot, and then the left foot goes up. Left foot is firm, right foot goes up. And when you reach at the top, you don't need a ladder anymore, right? Okay, that's very important symbolism, So next time you see a ladder, think of the Dharma. We study all these deep teachings, The deep teachings is to help us understand the nature of our body and speech, the nature of our mind, nature of wisdom. When you understand all this very well, then you say, oh, this is what the Buddha means. The Buddha is not telling us to have all kinds of views, It's not about, oh, everybody must become Buddhas. Everybody must do this, do that, all kinds of rituals. The basic idea is to be truly calm and peaceful and happy. So how do I do that? So in other words, once you understand something, you find you can let go of your views. When you let go of your views, then you see very clearly what the Dharma is really about. Another way of putting it, a little dramatic, is the wiser you become, the less of a Buddhist you become. In order to know the Dharma, you must let go of Buddhism. Because Buddhism are all views, all kinds of views. Theravada, Mahayana, Vajrayana, and then you go on each of these other schools, and then other schools, individual teachers, their opinions, so many ideas. And sometimes one person will swear by one teacher and say all else are wrong, You've got to let go of all that. In this group I'm with, my greatest difficulty, I told the group, I said, my challenge to you is this. I know you all know a lot of Dharma, and that's the problem. And that's why we all cannot agree, because all of us know so much of Buddhism, and we think that we are right. And so we won't budge. We're always defending our ground. I say, our challenge here, we're all teachers here, is that despite our knowledge, do we have the compassion and friendliness to smile and talk to each other and look at each other in the eye? And when we meet each other in the library or anywhere, we'll sit down as friends and talk, and not avoid each other or just keep silent. It's very strange we do that. So if you can do that, you can be friendly with each other, or whatever Buddhism you hold, no problem. And what is even more strange, I told this group, I said, we have lots of interreligious gathering in Singapore. You see in the newspaper all those different, nicely dressed, colorful dressed people, They're all coming together for celebration, smiling, talking with each other. Of course, that is officially commanded. You have to do that, for religious peace. But they do that. And even in the interreligious seminars, you find the speakers, they're friendly to each other. Now, if they can do that on the interreligious level, why can't we Buddhists be friendly to each other? It's very important, you see. That's called intra-Buddhist fellowship. So this is another area we must build up, to clear away our views. Respect other people's opinion, right or wrong. If they are accepting, tell them. If they are accepting, okay, be kind to them, because one day they will change. So this is the meaning. Watch out the gain in views. So as our views grow, got to ask ourselves, this view, does it promote more greed, more hate, more delusion? No, then it's wrong. Does it remove some hate, some greed, some delusion, or a lot of it, remove it? Yes, that's good. So when we see these views arising, ask yourself this question. Sometimes you hear a speaker comes here and they tell you some interesting things, and you ask yourself, okay, how does this work? This new view, how does this work? Is it in keeping with the Buddha's teaching? Right? Ask yourself, don't be afraid. Then the gain in personhood, this is a tricky one. Personhood here is atta bhava. Atta bhava literally translates as selfhood. Sometimes interpreted as rebirth. A good rebirth should be accepted, but bad rebirth rejected. But it's not so easy. We can't really do that. One meaning is we prepare ourselves for a happy rebirth. But I think a better meaning is becoming a person. What kind of person are we becoming? In Malay and Chinese there's a saying, you are not a person. Say, jadi orang, they say, you must be a good person. And that's what Buddhist meanings there. As we mature, we have to become kinder to people. Then we are a good person. there's another term which is very useful in modern Buddhism, which is called individuation. Individuation means becoming a true individual. True individual means you can think for yourself. You don't simply blindly follow what people say, especially wrong things. It's not easy to be an individual. Individual means you can stand alone and say, I disagree. I think this is not the Buddha's teaching. It's not easy. Because maybe people stop talking to you. Maybe people say you are wrong, and then it's not easy, okay? But if you know something is really right, you have no choice. So you have to stand up, you have to say it. So sometimes it's not easy, you know. For example, recently there was this scholarly seminar, so I asked the chairman in church, I said, can you allow the non-scholars to ask questions? And he says, no, you can't, because you have not enough time. I said, so what do you mean by not enough time? I mean, the whole thing is sponsored, you know, by the temple. And it's just about, let's say, a dozen scholars and another dozen speakers, you know, lay attendants, lay audience. And I have some very important questions to ask them, but this chairman says, no, you can't ask. You can only ask at the end of the day. But I have so many questions, so I say, if you don't allow me to ask questions, I won't learn anything. So I just left the whole seminar, you know, because it's not worth it when you can ask questions. So this way, sometimes you just need to do what is right, and I felt leaving that seminar was the right thing. But after it seemed to be dramatic because some of the organizers thought that I was walking out on all these people. But I say, if it is wrong, this is what scholars do. They just walk out because they need to make sure people understand that this is something they don't accept. Because if it is a seminar on Buddhism, Buddhists should be able to ask questions, simple as that, you know. So, and then the next day was the seminar, public seminar. I didn't attend that seminar, but Rana did. It was a very interesting seminar for the wrong reasons. It was a Kuan Yin seminar, and questions were asked about Kuan Yin, and there are scholars there answering. These are experts in different kinds of aspects of Kuan Yin and Mahayana. So one question was, why don't Kuan Yin worshippers take beef? Simple question. Yeah, popular question, right? So the scholars look at each other. They are not sure what to answer. And then this chairman is an elderly, retired scholar living, a Western scholar living in Japan. He said, I really don't know why. Well, maybe they can't afford it. You know that he doesn't realize giving that kind of answer actually has a very bad undertone. You know, it's like insulting, you know, Kuan Yin worshippers. You know? Okay, that's one example. Of course, I laugh at it when I hear that. I say, how could he even think of that kind of answer? I mean, he's supposed to be an expert in the Lotus Sutra, you know. I don't know how many people were there. I think you heard it too, huh? Right, okay. And then another question was asked. What does Om Mani Padme Hum mean? Okay. And this really surprised me because I know there are scholars there who know very well, who specialize in mantras, you know. Nobody wanted to answer it. And then finally one of the scholars said, you should not ask such questions. Oh dear, I said, what's going on, you know? And you know the drift. I don't know any other funny remarks, but these are the two I remember. So my point is this, the temple spend lots of money bringing all these foreign teachers, and they can't answer simple questions, which local teachers can give better answers. So, but what surprised me is no one in the audience stood up, well, somebody did, I suppose, to say that, you know, that we can give better answers. So, but what's interesting here, I think, is we are all learning this process, that in the sense that we now know foreign speakers are not always that engaging.
Foreigners are better, they think.
Yeah, sometimes we have this idea that just because they are foreign, they are better. Not necessary. But I think there's something else here. They know the answers, but I think they just feel not worthwhile answering. I don't know why. Okay? So these are things we need to think about. So this is where my point here is that if you value Buddhism, then you see wisdom in this way. you begin to distinguish what is wisdom, what is not wisdom. Okay? What should be followed, what should not be followed.
Can I say something like that?
Sure.
Okay. Sorry again to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
Okay, things like that, we like for example, all money back before things. Even Dalai Lama avoid this kind of answer.
Is
I
it?
don't understand why. Sometimes I just felt he gave the answer just like you know, he thinks that the audience wants that kind of answer. So he deliver that kind of answer. Just like I think the audience needs some water to drink because they're thirsty.
Okay.
You know?
Indirectly,
So,
is it?
yeah, so in the right way, but I do not know whether is that right or wrong. Maybe there's a skillful means.
Okay. There are reasons why sometimes a speaker may not answer. He's tired of the question, been asked too many times. It can happen. Okay? It happened to me when I was a young monk, you know. They are called mosquito questions. You know what I mean? Every time you go around give talks, you talk about deep things and nirvana. In question time, why can't we kill mosquitoes? You know? So after a while, you tell yourself, I'm going crazy hearing this question. You know. Then one day I met an older teacher. I asked him, I said, you know, how do you deal with all these things? And the teacher gave me a very wise reply. He said, you should be happy they ask you mosquito questions. Because you know the answer. You know, you just memorize the answer very easy, you know. If they ask you every time new question, more difficult. You know, okay, that's one tip, all right? Okay, so there are different ways of answering that kind of question. You see, for example, my favorite way of answering such a question is answer from the point of view of compassion and loving kindness. Well, you can say, when you recite Om Mani Padme Hum, you get into a state of loving kindness and you send your loving kindness to the 6 realms. That's good enough. Simple answer. And people go back with that something useful, you know. We don't have to go deeper than that. So this is what I'm trying to say. Like,
The question comes from Tibetan people. You know, I mean, they are from young to that kind of age. They've been chanting that kind of verse, and they are asking for the answer.
I think,
And the answer is not given. So I felt
no, maybe
something is lacking.
Maybe after the talk, they will say, okay, come, I will teach you. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, the teachers have a reason, so the answering or not answering. But like I said, there are different ways of answering, and it's good for a wide audience. My favorite way of answering is always link it to loving kindness or compassion. Okay, something positive now. Okay, then part 2. Okay, what I've summarized is the Buddha gives a short teaching, what we read just now, and then Sariputta will say, oh, I know this one. He gives a long instruction, long answer, okay? And the Buddha will say, that's correct, and the Buddha will repeat again, and then it's finished. Then the second cycle, the Buddha starts with new teaching, 22. Look at section 22, page 158, right? Is it correct page? Sariputta, a form cognizable by the eye is of 2 kinds, I say, to be resorted to and not to be resorted to. Okay? Here, simple terms, it means what you see with your eyes. Some things are worth seeing, some things are not worth seeing. Okay, so ask yourself, especially when you travel in a crowded place. You travel in an MRT, a train, so you see people misbehaving themselves, some people are not very kind. You don't have to look that way. Okay, don't tell your friend, hey, look at this person. You know, every time you say that, you are recording that unhappy event, you know. So why record unhappy event? Because you're going to play it back. And if you collect a lot of unhappy events, wow, you got a lot of unhappy tapes in your head. We don't want that. So your neck can turn, you know. So turn away. Look at something else. Maybe look at a happy old couple or someone who's very kind. Okay. Remember the kindness shown to you, right? See the good stuff. So you have a choice here. Next one, sound. A sound cognizable by the ear is of 2 kinds, I said. To be resorted to and not to be resorted to. Here again, we hear people say terrible things. People say good things. Don't bother about the unhappy things. They will come back. When you least, without any effort, they will come back. Make an effort to remember the happy things, right? In other words, sometimes, you know, people may say someone is bad, but you remember something good about this person, that may help this person. Smell also same. Sariputta, a smell is cognizable by the nose, is of 2 kinds. not to be resorted to and not to be resorted to. Right? Here, one meaning is, okay, let's keep this place fresh smelling and clean, and people come here to feel good. That's one meaning. And we should remove the old flowers, clean the place, something like that. That's one meaning. Another meaning is, whatever the smell, just take it in, let it go. Take it in, let it go. Treat everything in your life like your breath. Your breath is a good teacher. We breathe in, we must breathe out. We take in air, we must give back. Whatever we take in our life, we always must give back. Especially the breath, right? So remember the breath. Take it in, let it go. That is also called renunciation. Anger comes, let it go. Happiness comes, let it go, right? There was a time, Vesak Day, we used to free birds, right? Now, they say don't do that. I think it's a good idea. But if you really want to free bird, you still can do it. Let's say you keep a bird at home, and this poor bird is caged, and you say, okay, this Vesak Day, I'm giving you your freedom, open, May you be well and happy, and the bird flies out, It's very happy, right? That's the meaning. Otherwise, you have all kind of problems, Recently they found this one kind of bird, is it, from Africa, right? They said this bird is a locust or what. This bird they come big swarms and they just eat out vegetables, plants. But luckily they say it's only 1 or 2 birds, so it's not going to grow. It's not going to propagate in Singapore. Anyway, Singapore is not an agricultural country, but anyway, there's always a problem when you liberate all these animals which are not local, you create problems, right? So the real liberation here is, for example, before I was a serious Buddhist as a teenager, I used to catch butterflies, and kill them and so on. Then when I became a Buddhist, start learning the 5 precepts, I said, oh dear, panatipata, you cannot catch butterflies, cannot kill them. And I told the monk, I said, he asked, what's your hobby? I said, I used to catch butterflies. I said, oh, that's terrible. I said, no, stop doing that, So I had to give up catching butterflies, and stop catching fish, So there are things we have to let go. You set them free in that sense, right?
You talk about freeing bird.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, I'm sharing this because I go to Facebook quite often.
Okay.
And sometimes these things are, when I see, I have this good memory to remember. When Pope Francis, I was some Pope, I think there was some occasion, he released two doves,
Oh, okay.
I don't know whether were you aware?
No, but I can
but
understand.
the moment he released the doves, the doves were attacked by the crow,
Really?
Yeah, so it was flamed down.
Oh, how interesting.
The
So
two birds he released doves, well, straight away the crow attacked, And then I don't know what happened to the crow after that, The video was so short. Then they say this kind of practice should be stopped. You release the poor dove, which is actually cat, and then
yes,
they're
very gentle birds.
Fly, and then straight away the crow were waiting.
True, and kill them, huh?
And then you could see the feather all over the place.
Yeah.
Wow. So I told myself,
So,
what kind of thing is this?
No, the interesting part is that they might even take it as a bad omen. Because it's a bird of peace, Yeah.
So these things,
That's true.
I don't know whether they will still continue this kind of practice.
Okay, so there are habits we have to let go, or to stop, so to speak. The next one, a taste cognizable by the tongue is of 2 kinds, to be resorted to or not to be resorted to. Now, on the simplest level, this is health advice, For example, eating too much sweet things, not good for your teeth, not good for your body. Eating too much of certain things, not helpful. You can know that. You don't have to read health book for that. You can feel it. When you meditate, you can also feel it. So by taste, you will know whether the food suits you or not. And then you adjust accordingly without burdening the donors and the workers. Okay. Another meaning is to simplify your taste. As a monk, the monk won't complain. Whatever food you give, the monk will still eat. So the monk will know what to eat, what not to eat from the bowl. Okay. Next one, Sariputta, a touch cognizable by the body is of 2 kinds, I say, to be resorted to or not to be resorted to. Here can refer to the temperature, some weather is too warm, you can't meditate, or too cold, you can't meditate. So you find a suitable kind of environment, and so on. Okay, it can also refers to contact with people, how comfortable you are with it or not, and you adjust yourself accordingly. The last one is very significant. Sariputta, a mind object cognizable by the mind is of two kinds, I say, to be resorted to or not to be resorted to. So here, in other words, the thoughts that come to your mind, ideas you hold in your mind, some ideas are not helpful. Let them go, free them like the birds on Vesak Day. That's the real bird we must free. So maybe make a resolution, this Vesak I'm to let go of this negative thought. I'm going to think positive. And this is going to make you happier, you will get less sickness, you know, or maybe no sickness, and you feel bright and happy and healthy. Okay? So do not hold negative thoughts in your head. This is the last advice. All right? So know what kind of mind, what kind of thought is good for you, what's not good for you. Let go of the negative ones. Then the last cycle, cycle 3, page 162, section 39. Now this time the Buddha is talking about resort. Resort, it means where a monk should go for help, so to speak, for support. Look at section 39. Sariputta, the rope is of two kinds, to be resorted to or not to be resorted to, right? So some ropes can be used, some ropes should not be used. So what about laymen? Clothing, see, some clothing are not suitable for us, some clothing are suitable for us. But of course it's obvious, you know, for example, you come to temple, you tell young people, don't dress skimpily, you must dress properly, you see. Because if you don't dress properly, then people get distracted, you know, then you won't be able to focus, right? Something like that is the teaching. You know, I like to dress simple. To me, one of my regrets is not wearing the robe anymore. Well, the robe is so convenient, you know. Never go out of style. 2,500 years old, still in style. It's very easy, one shape only. You just flap, flap, flap like roti prata, and then that's it. You know, you already you have this robe in front around you. You know, and it's an all-weather clothing also. You know, if it's cold, you cover your shoulder. If it's warm, you free your right shoulder. So I dress simple. And occasionally people say, oh, you must modernize, you must wear like the executive, you know, so that people look at you and then they will come. I said, then they come for my clothes, not for my talk. You know? So I suppose it's okay to dress well, you know. It's just that for me, I'm quite happy the way I dress. In fact, I keep on wearing the same shirt. Some people are waiting out of pity and compassion. They donate the new shirt to me. I said, thank you. I was going to go shopping anyway, but after that I didn't have to. So my point is, I mean, if you're a Dharma teacher, these things don't matter, you see. I mean, I don't know, some people, they want to look so prim and proper. They try to sell themselves. I'm not selling myself, I'm selling the Dharma, so to speak, in a manner of speaking. So what I'm saying here is, we're not, don't get me wrong here, I'm not saying we should dress shabbily, you know. What I'm saying is, you must ask yourself, is this suitable for me or not? Is this suitable for me or not? That's the meaning here, all right? Next one, Sariputta, alms food, pindapata is of two kinds, to be resorted to or not to be resorted to, right? So the alms food that the monk receive. For example, certain alms food you should not receive. Like, for example, you should not ask for meat dishes, you know, and then killing will be involved, something like that. And when we give dana, we also give properly. And when we take food also, we ask ourselves, is this suitable for me or not? This is very similar to the one about taste earlier, remember? Okay, number 3 is lodging. Sariputta, lodging is of two kinds, to be resorted to or not to be resorted to, right? Some places are suitable for us to live, some places are not suitable. Okay, so you got to, if you can choose. Of course, for most of us today, it's not so easy to choose. But here, lodging, we can even say the kind of monastery you want to go to. Before you join a monastery, maybe it's good to just go there, spend a bit of time, look around, and then see, is it, do people practice Dharma there or not? Is it a peaceful place or not, right? It's like renting a new premises also, you know. So you got to find out, is it suitable, right? And if you have a choice of moving choosing the right place, that's good. Because another blessing in the Mangala Sutta, you remember, is Pati Rupa Desa Vasocha. Pati Rupa means suitable, Desa, Vaso, a place to live, suitable. Okay? So if you, for example, people who go to Australia, they say they stay this place, there's a temple nearby, they're so happy, you know. So you stay in a place where you can meet the Buddhist community, for example, and you can practice the Dharma, and the place is quiet enough. If you have that choice, that's wonderful. Then, now what's missed out here is the medicine, you know, it's not mentioned here. Because I think this sutta probably referred to a time when the monks used very simple medicine, so it's not mentioned directly. So number 4 is village. Sariputta, a village is of 2 kinds, to be resorted to and or not to be resorted to. Okay, here for a monk, certain villages, those people have no faith and they are very quarrelsome and very dangerous, so monks should not go there. Sometimes according to time, you know, for example, even in Bangkok when I was there, after 7, you know, we won't go for alms because the roads were very busy. So that means it should not be resorted to already. So this is for the training of a monk. And in a sense for us also, we must know when it is safe to go out, when it's not safe to go out. Then next is a market town. A market town is between a village and a city. It's a town, normally it's a crossroads, and then people gather together there and start selling things, and then the town started growing there. It's of 2 kinds. Something, a place you should resort to and a place you should avoid. And then the city. The city is also of 2 kinds. A city you can go to or you should not go to. And here again, ask yourself, why do you want to go there? Okay. And then the country. Country is of 2 kinds, to be resorted to, not to be resorted to. Some countries not safe to go, some countries are safe, right? And the last one is very interesting. Sariputta, a person is of 2 kinds, to be resorted to or not to be resorted to, right? So here the Buddha is talking to the monks, say you've got to be careful of certain people. Some of them, they're not really spiritual at all, they just want to confuse the monks or make use of you, so you've got to avoid them. Especially in our modern times, you find, especially monks and women, you know, sometimes women want to control the monks. Sometimes certain rich people want to make use of the monk, so the monk must be wise, in other words. And also for ourselves, we have to be wise when we meet people, you know. Is this person just simply they talk nice, but they have some other ulterior motives? And so you have to be very wise, very careful, politely decline if it's not very good. So you must know people also, in other words. So the teaching ends here, but there's, let me see the ending. Oh yeah, okay, the ending is quite simple. Look at the page 166. So the Buddha says, look at section 60. Sariputta, if all the Kshatriyas were thus to understand in detail the meaning of what has been briefly spoken by me, it would be for the good and happiness of all these Kshatriyas for a long time. So the Buddha said, if this teaching is understood in detail, in other words, you practice, you understand all the details, what to do, what not to do, what to avoid, what to resort to. Whether you are Kshatriya, Kshatriya means the ruling class. Next one, the Brahmins, this is the educational class, right, the professionals, if you like. Then the Vaisyas, these are the merchants. And then 63, the Shudras, these are the workers. And then number 64, the world. Anyone in the world, they follow this, they'll be truly happy. The Blessed One said this, the Venerable Sariputta joyfully approved of the Blessed One's word. Right? So here again, the Buddha is telling us, you have a choice. Choose wisely. Even the Buddhism, choose your Buddhism wisely. There are many kinds of Buddhism today. Sometimes people come here nicely dressed, you know, very beautiful robes, you know, silk and all kinds of nice designs. Someone else comes with a wonderful talk, to tell you exactly what you want to hear. Another one comes with all kinds of other things, high teachings. Another one claims to be enlightened. You know, there's some teachers who do claim to be enlightened. So again, you've got to ask yourself, what's going on here? Is this teaching worthwhile to follow or not worthwhile to follow? Remember, the ultimate teacher is you yourself. the ultimate person who must practice is you yourself. Teachers come and go. I also come and go. So you have to keep the Dharma with you. Then the Dharma is never lost. Right? Those days I used to have lots of teachers, lots of Buddhist friends I give talks to. Nowadays, I tell myself it's getting very tiring. I have to cut down, spend more time doing my work, which is not so demanding physically. But I still need teachers who are wise. So what I do is I write to them. So occasionally I have some Dhamma questions. So if these teachers answer my emails, I'm very happy. So recently I wrote an email to one of the monks in Perth, and he replied my email really in beautiful, very good instructions. So that took me, the email is just one page, but it took me like more than 1 month to work on the answers, because I do some correction, adjustments, improve the translation. So if you get a teacher who can really teach you all these things, it's really wonderful. A teacher who teaches you how to be truly happy and be good in the Dharma, not some strange new vows and ideas and magical things and so on. Okay, question time.
Can you explain gain in selfhood again? I don't understand.
Gain in personhood, selfhood. Originally I used the word selfhood, but I now use personhood. In other words, how do you become a person? How do you mature? How do you grow up into an adult? You must choose the right way. What not to be followed, what to be followed. That's the meaning. For example, you know, we are Buddhists, so sometimes we don't know what's going on outside, so it's good to make friends outside, maybe visit other temples. And as we do that, we learn, oh, other temples, they do things this way, and then you learn, and you come back, you become a better person. And then you find, maybe you have interreligious dialogue, then you learn, oh, this is what other religions think of Buddhism. So, or this is how they behave, look at how friendly they are, you know. And they say, we Buddhists too need to be friendly to each other that way. So you learn a lot of new things, and your personality becomes more mature. So you can also translate this as personality. Okay? So in other words, we want more mature Buddhist leaders, Buddhist elders, in other words. Okay? Sometimes, you know, Buddhists gather together, we talk very loudly, and the only way to get your opinion heard is you've got to talk louder than the others. And it's quite difficult, you know. So, but slowly as I become more friendly with these people, I'm going to tell them, can we be more civilized and cultured and talk more, bring down our voice a bit, you know, the Buddha doesn't shout at anyone, you know. So it takes time. As long as they accept me, I will try to teach them these things, okay? Yeah, because if I tell them at the wrong time, then they will throw me out, and then that's the end. I can't help them at all also. So you have to know the skillful means also. Okay, any other question? In a sense, my Buddhism is becoming more interesting now, you know, as we grow older. And one thing about being an aging teacher is, yeah, you're not too afraid to tell the truth to them. And that helps them more than all the winding things, you know, which don't help actually. And then at the end of the day, they look back and say, oh, you know, what you say is true. That's a great compliment. Okay? And if you've got someone in your committee or in your temples like that, who's straightforward, honest, and kind, I'm not saying someone who's crude, you know, I'm saying someone who's really sensible, and that'd be really good. Okay? Something like LKY without the politics. Okay? Someone who's really incorruptible and sharp and really caring for the country or for your temple, for the Dharma. Okay? Questions? So I wish you happy with such before our next meeting. Yes. You too, okay? Let us do a short reflection now. Many Vesak have passed, and we have been gathering here with one aim in mind, to know more about the Dharma. When we say to know more about the Dharma, we also should mean to know more about ourselves, to learn to be more in charge of ourselves, our body, our speech, our minds, meaning to be happy to be full of loving kindness, and in that way be able to relate to our other friends and build up our strength that way, bit by bit. Reflecting in this way is very good karma. By the power of such karma, maybe we be well and happy in this life itself, through all the good deeds we have done, by virtue of our faith, our generosity, and various other good deeds. May we aspire to attain spiritual liberation, especially stream winning, in this life itself. In this moment of peace, let us send out our loving kindness to all the beings here, that they may be well and happy. To all the people who come here regularly, to all those who work hard for this place, and for everyone who come here, that they may be blessed with good health, happiness, and wisdom, and faith in the Dharma. And also those whom the Dharma have not touched, may they see the Dharma in true reality and benefit from it. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.